Welcome back to Tar Heel Illustrated. I am Bryant Balcom. He is publisher Andrew Jones. We are live from the Lenovo Center in Raleigh, North Carolina, following UNC's 63-61 win over NC State. Ian Jackson led the way with 21 points, career high, 5 3-pointers. But the real story was Jaylen Washington's first career double-double, and he really stepped up for UNC when they needed it, AJ.
Yeah, we're going to be rushed on this three things because they're breaking down the court because they're going to get it ready for hockey. We'll have a lot more stuff and coming up with plenty of videos coming up this week. But J-Wash was huge. Here's the thing. We talked a lot about J-Wash during the offseason. And it was kind of in concert with how Hubert handled the portal in the spring. And he wasn't going to overpay for somebody in the spring. People keep complaining about either Carolina didn't have the money or Hubert botched it. Neither is really the truth because there was money, but he wasn't going to just throw money at someone that wasn't at the value of that player. Just wasn't going to do it. Bill Belichick is working that way, and everybody praises him. Hubert does it, and people beat him up. Well, Hubert did that for a reason. Now, another reason is because what we were hearing this summer is that the guy you saw today on the floor with the name Washington on the back of his jersey is the guy they thought would have arrived a lot earlier in the season. Now, this isn't to say this is who he is now, Brian, but you saw today what they thought they had. We talked about his ability to finish at the rim. I talked about how he improved at that last season. I talked to him about that last season in March a couple of times. I even had like a 5-minute conversation with him out in Los Angeles the day before the Sweet 16 about catching, turning, and finishing. And that was the bucket he got right here with the dunk. And we talked about rotating defensively and being presence. He admittedly has not been that great at that. But if you go back and look at my interview with him in the hallway outside the locker room at Notre Dame last week, that specifically was about putting an emphasis on rotating properly, helping out defensively. And it was kind of funny. He almost said, look, it's a simple concept. If I get my body in the right place at 6'10" with a 7'4" wingspan, I'm going to affect shots. So it's like the light went on there, and we've seen him do that. He had 3 blocks today, but I swear he had 5 or 6.
Yep.
I don't know what they were. And he also altered about 4 or 5 others. So that right now is 12 blocks officially in the last 3 games, and probably at least 12 to 15 shots significantly affected. In fact, there was one time today the shot was not taken because he was there. We didn't see that even 3 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago at Louisville, we didn't even see that. So you're seeing a guy who aggressively ripped away some rebounds. You're seeing a guy who enforced his will scoring at the basket. And you're seeing a guy who affected the game not just in spurts, but from beginning to end. When he was on the court, he was affecting the game down in the paint on the defensive end. This is the best game he's ever played as a college basketball player, and because of the level of competition, the best game he's ever played in his life. And it's an absolutely enormous thing for the Tar Heels to see happen, because this time a week ago, a struggling Elliot Cadeau makes a play, and we've seen his confidence better in the last week. Now, the J-Wash, who didn't score the other night against SMU, goes for a career high, or not career high 11, but it's his first double-double. He had a career high 12 rebounds. He does that here. You're seeing snippets of growth, and if there's any guy on this roster people want to see step up and have a game-altering performance, it was Jaylen Washington, and he delivered that today.
And a quick note, held Ben Middlebrooks to 2 for 9 from the field. So, like you said, defensively, he was a big impact for UNC. On the offensive end,
part of that's Middlebrooks took some bad shots, but Middlebrooks likes to play around the basket. I mean, he thinks he can shoot from the outside, but J-Wash had him twisted like a pretzel with his footwork down on the lower blocks a lot. So that was a big part of his 2 for 9. I wanted to cut in there because I thought Middlebrooks could have helped them win the game tonight, and he didn't do it.
And you mentioned his impact on the defensive end. But offensively for UNC, once again, it was Ian Jackson. 21 points, but a career high, 5 for 8 from 3, took 15 shots. But he was efficient. And we've talked about he's just finding his rhythm within the offense naturally, even if it takes him a few minutes to score and get comfortable.
Lots of bullet points of growth that I saw in South Bend and have really kind of exploded these last 2 games. And Ian Jackson, the other night against SMU, he doesn't score until minute 32 left in the first half, and then he ends up scoring 18 points. and he didn't hunt his shot. He wasn't in I'm going to get mine mode, but wasn't getting his. He had 5 rebounds and a steal the other night and only 4 shot attempts. His 5th shot attempt was the one that finally went in. Tonight, he didn't score until 2:50 left in the first half, ends up with 21. I was very adamant a week ago when we talked about how I thought the rest of the team was getting comfortable playing with Ian. The other night after SMU, I was very adamant saying now Ian's comfortable playing with the rest of the team. Today, we could put about 30 exclamation marks on both because that's what we saw happen. There were a lot of times today when Ian got the ball in which he would have over-dribbled in Madison Square Garden or down in Charlotte or wherever, that he didn't over-dribble tonight. He got rid of it, and that ball movement led to other looks, and sometimes the ball came back and found him again, and he got buckets. He's starting to learn to play that way, to play with other really good players, to trust other good players, but also have faith that the ball can find him again.
Yep.
And that's a really, really mature step forward for Ian because the dude's got game. He had a crossover one time that was sick. I've covered some great players. I've covered NBA. Okay, I mean, that's a damn NBA crossover. I've covered a lot of, when they were the Bobcats, their games. I've been covering the ACC for 29 years, man. There are very few crossovers that I have seen that are so tight and shift hips more than Ian's. And even Hubert said in the press conference tonight after the game about, I think Michael Coe asked him a good question about what we're talking about with Ian. And he said that, I can't specifically remember, but I can paraphrase, where he's talking about the growth, where a guy that can score so easily and that he doesn't look rushed when he's not scoring and doesn't look rushed when he is scoring. We're seeing that more. I thought he looked rushed a few weeks ago scoring. He didn't tonight. Hubert said, I thought he had 11 or 13. And he looks like he's got 21. I can't even begin to tell you how much of a positive that is for Ian, the player, and for North Carolina, the team. And you look at him stepping up and being the well-rounded team guy. You look at what Elliott did last week, and Elliott had a big game today, 8 or 9 assists. I can't remember.
He had 9 assists.
9 assists, and the last one was to Jay Wash for that bucket, which was a beautiful pass. Then you look at what Ian's doing. You look at the growth from the 3 of them just in the last week, and it's growth that has the word maturity just draped all over it. They're not beating Final Four teams. It doesn't matter. They're winning games, and they're finding ways to win, and they're doing it because guys are playing with more maturity. There were some bad stretches in this game. I thought there were 3 occasions in which I thought that they were in position to push the lead, and they didn't do it. But they fought through that like they did against Notre Dame and got the win. So they did it because of Ian, they did it because of Jay Wash, and they did it because of Elliott. And I want to give him some love because he was struggling big time a week and a half ago. And right now he looks like he's starting to find himself.
And he was the reason some of those shots Ian got were great looks because Elliott, I mean, he found them, but he found the open shooter and Ian knocked him down. And I asked him after the game, you know, the UNC was down 1 and Ian hit a go-ahead 3. I'm like, you've hit some big shots, you stepped up, but that wasn't a really big situation. And he basically said, it's just basketball. He's gotten comfortable and he knows his role in this offense, and he really showed it.
Who found him on that 3? It was a skip pass. Yep. It was, you know, people say, gosh, you know, Hubert loves North Carolina basketball so much and has the DES look out. We don't see a lot of North Carolina-like things. Well, you're seeing the skip pass more and more. You go back and look at the shot Michael Jordan hit New Orleans in 1982. It was a skip pass. And you saw what you're talking about, the 3 you're talking about, there was a skip pass there. Elliott's seeing the floor again.
Yep.
For a while, I don't think he saw the floor that well. He's seeing the floor really well, but also the guys around him, they're not doing the N1 spotlight stuff anymore. They're moving a little bit better. Jaylen Washington actually set some good screens today, and he was rewarded for it as well. So, and to be honest with you, when they're able to use that, it was RJ got in the lane and got a kick out for a bucket as well. When they're able to do that, they force defense to move a lot, and it opens up stuff for a lot of dudes on the team that can score. Mm-hmm. So you're going to see a higher shooting percentage if they continue to play that way, higher percentage moving forward, because by moving and forcing the defense to move, it creates seams. And this is a seam-oriented team. They should be outstanding on a consistent basis at taking advantage of seams because they have 2 slashers in Seth and Ian, and Seth's getting healthier. He'll be fine. And you got RJ doing what he does and doing what he does. So they can continue to create seams. Their offensive efficiency is going to go up. They score a lot, but their efficiency is going to be even higher, and that's going to give them opportunities to beat a lot of teams moving ahead.
And moving ahead, they have a chance 2 straight games at home. But for our third thing, what does this mean? It means UNC, and we talk about this, they're finding ways to close games. I know we have to hurry here because they're wrapping up, but they're finding ways to win games. And they've won multiple close games in a row and are now on a 3-game winning streak, which they've only done once this year against lesser competition than they were playing the ACC.
Yeah, quick side note, Steve Kirshner came over to me right before we hit recorded to let me know that Carolina hasn't lost 2 in a row to State, I guess, since 2003, and 6 in this building. I don't know what's more surprising. They're 20-6 in this building, or the fact that this building is 26 years old. That's crazy. Anyway, they're finding ways to win. I asked you a week ago, we were talking about Elliott hitting the 3 and making the free throw. And we were talking about Jay Washington with the dunk in the block. Neither one of them is named R.J. Davis. Neither one of them is named Ian Jackson. That is incredibly huge for this team to move forward. It is January, 11th?
11th, yep.
January 11th. The ACC tournament's in 2 months. There's so much time left for this team to find itself. Perhaps they've gone through the worst. And whatever adjustments that Hubert made, he did make some adjustments. He had some pretty heavy mandates after Louisville. Like Jay Wash said last week about rotating defensively and talking more defensively. If that becomes who this team is, their basketball DNA, then they're going to beat a lot of people. Now, again, State's not a very good team. Notre Dame's not a very good team, but these are 2 road wins that you had to make plays. They played 10 games on the road now. Well, they played 16 games, 17 games. They played 10 away from home. And they've now won 3 out of 4 away from home. They found ways to win each one if you go back to UCLA. So I think that the arrows are all pointing in the right direction. This team still has a long way to go. They were bad defensively in the second half tonight at times. They didn't show the ability to put foot on throat. They should have built a bigger lead in the first half when State wasn't, when nobody else was scoring. It took until 8.5 minutes left before a second NC State player scored from the field. They should have built a bigger lead then, and there were 2 occasions in the second half they should have just pulled away, and they didn't do it. But look, 2 weeks ago, people are saying this club has no chance to make the NCAA tournament. Hubert's going to get fired. So they're not going to change everything dramatically overnight. It's going to take time. And in order for those things to happen, individual players need to play better. And we've seen that from Jay Wash. We've seen Ian just play such a mature game. And you've seen Elliott grow. And I think he's a lot more comfortable in his basketball skin now than he's been all year. So those are all good things. And by the way, another thing to RJ didn't force some shots. He missed a couple of shots tonight, late game, about a 14-footer and a 3 that, the ACC Player of the Year needs to hit.
That he was making last year at this time or all last.
And he was making this time last year, but he still played. He had a huge assist, and I love the fact that he's not letting those things affect him. And I think that's key. I noted last week in South Bend when he had to feed to Drake Powell for a dunk. RJ ran up the court clapping hard. Little things like that are so huge because they signify something big. And I think that was the case with RJ there. And there's a reason I think this club is playing with a clear head now. And a lot of it starts with RJ. So all positive, a lot of positives now, a lot of stuff to work on.
Yep.
A lot of stuff to work on. But they have an opportunity to keep this thing rolling this week at home against Cal and Stanford. 2 teams that I think could pose a threat to them if they let them, but also 2 teams that Tar Heels should be able to handle if they let themselves handle it.
Yeah, and you mentioned 2 games at home is a big thing for UNC too. A chance just to continue this winning streak. And guys like Elliott, Jay Wash, keep up their good work.
And we'll be on to talk about all this stuff. I'll do something tomorrow. Maybe I'm trying to get David Sisk to do something since they don't play till Wednesday. So David Sisk, if you're watching, I'm going to send you a text tonight. We're going to do a podcast tomorrow because people have been clamoring for it. I just let David talk because people hear me talk all the time. So we got a lot of stuff coming up this week, getting ready for those games, and of course all the football stuff. But we have to go.
Yep. Well, they're kicking. Yeah, they're kicking us out. So I'm Bryant. He's AJ, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks.